At exactly the 17 in the morning, a 911 operator received a call that would send a shockwave through an entire city. The man on the other end of the line was calm. Almost a calm. And his first words were chilling. "I think I just killed someone." But what police discovered when they arrived on the scene would turn this into one of the most bizarre and unsettling murder mystery. That's in Illinois history. Jason Reed was 34 years old, a delivery driver living in Chicago. By all accounts, he was a quiet, private man. He had no criminal record, lived alone in a small, unassuming apartment, and kept to himself. Nothing about him stood out. There was no history of violence, no trouble with the law, no reports of strange behavior. He was the definition of ordinary, but on one cold October night, everything about his quiet life was about to change forever when police officers arrived at Jason's apartment complex. The front door to his unit was unlocked. They found Jason sitting on his kitchen floor, his hands already raised in surrender. There was no weapon in sight. He was just waiting. When they entered the bedroom, they found the body of a man lying on the floor. It was clear there had been a struggle. But this is where the story takes its first strange turn. As officers secured the scene, Jason kept repeating the same haunting phrase, "I didn't mean to do it, but I had no choice, no choice." What could he possibly mean? The victim was quickly identified as Mark Benson. The immediate question for detectives was, what was the connection between these two men? They weren't friends. They didn't work together. They had no mutual acquaintances. A thorough search of their lives revealed absolutely no link. So why was Mark Benson inside Jason? Rita's apartment at the o'clock in the morning? This is where the mystery deepens. Investigators meticulously examined the apartment, searching for any sign of a break-in. They found nothing. No broken locks, no pried windows, no splintered door frames. The entry was clean. This left only two possibilities. Either Jason had invited Mark inside, or Mark had his own key. But Jason was adamant, insisting he had never seen the man before in his life. The police were facing a puzzle with missing pieces. The story simply wasn't adding up. Detectives immediately seized Jason's phone. Searching for any hidden connection, they scoured his call logs, text messages, and social media accounts. There was nothing. No communication of any kind between Jason Reed and Mark Benson. They pulled the security footage from the apartment building's lobby. The cameras showed Mark Benson entering the building alone shortly after midnight. No one followed him in. He walked confidently, like he knew exactly where he was going. He looked like he belonged there. But it was the forensic report that delivered the first real bombshell of the investigation. The results were shocking. Mark Benson's fingerprints weren't just found in the bedroom where the struggle took place. They were everywhere. His prints were on the kitchen cabinets. They were on the bathroom sink faucet. They were even found on the inside of Jason's closet door. It was as if Mark had been in that apartment before. Not just once, but many times. The evidence suggested he was intimately familiar with the space, moving through it like it was his own. This case was no longer a simple home invasion. It was something far more sinister. With this new evidence, police dug deeper into Mark Benson's past. And what they uncovered sent a collective chill down the spines of the entire department. Years earlier, Mark had been a person of interest in a series of strange break-ins across the city. His pattern was deeply disturbing. He would target apartment buildings, find a way to secretly copy a resident's keys, and then wait. Sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months. Then, late at night, he would let himself into their homes while they slept. He didn't steal anything valuable. He would just be there just watching, not waiting. He was a ghost, an intruder who was never seen. But he was never caught in the act, and without concrete proof, he was never convicted. Until now. Suddenly, Jason's story started to make a terrifying kind of sense. He told police he woke up to a faint noise in his apartment. Getting out of bed, he walked into his living room and his heart stopped. A stranger was standing there in the dark. Just standing. Inside his home. Jason said the man was holding something in his hand, though he couldn't see what it was in the dim light. A struggle erupted in the chaos and confusion. And in that violent clash, Mark Benson was fatally injured. Jason claimed it was a clear case of self-defense. He was a man protecting his home from a terrifying intruder. But there was a detail from the autopsy that still divides people to this day. There were no defensive wounds on Jason. None at all. For a man who claimed to have been in a life-or-death struggle, his body was completely unmarked. And there was more. Police canvassed the neighbors. No one heard a thing. No screams for help, no crash of furniture, no sounds of a fight. Just silence. So the big question remained. Was Jason telling the complete truth? Was this a straightforward act of self-defense against a home invader he'd never seen before? Or did something else happen in that apartment that night? One theory is that Jason had somehow discovered Mark had been secretly entering his home for months. The violation, the constant fear, finally pushed him over the edge, and he snapped. Another, darker theory suggests that Jason, for reasons unknown, staged the entire scene to look like self-defense. In the end, the court sided with Jason. The overwhelming evidence of Mark Benson's past, his fingerprints all over the apartment, and the undeniable fact that he was an intruder, led to a ruling of justifiable homicide. It was deemed self-defense. Jason Reed walked free. But the story doesn't end there. Just weeks after the verdict, Jason packed his bags, sold his belongings, and moved out of state. He changed his number and completely disappeared from public view. He vanished, leaving behind a story with no final chapter. And to this day, no one truly knows what really happened inside that apartment at 7:17 a.m. Sometimes the most terrifying crimes aren't committed by strangers in dark alleys, but by people who find their way into the places we feel safest. If this story gave you chills, make sure you subscribe to Havoc's Crime Files TV, because the next case we uncover might be even darker. Stay safe out there.